Slider disqualified over helmet. Ukrainian skeleton star disqualified after defying IOC helmet rules at Milano Cortina 2026. Ukrainian skeleton racer Vladyslav Heraskevych has been disqualified from the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic Winter Games after refusing to comply with International Olympic Committee regulations regarding athlete expression on the field of play. The decision came after Heraskevych insisted on wearing a helmet featuring images of Ukrainian athletes who were killed during the ongoing war in Ukraine. Now let's dive deeper and explore every layer of this story on our AI podcast.
Okay, so picture this. It's Thursday, February 12th, 2026. We are right in the thick of the Milano Cortina Olympic Winter Games. You can feel the energy, right?
The cold air, the cowbells, that tension.
Exactly, that tension that only comes around every 4 years. And, usually at this point, we're obsessing over split times, maybe a photo finish.
Right, the usual Olympic drama, who's on the podium, who crashed out.
But today, if you look at the official start list for the men's skeleton competition, which is happening literally right now, there's a massive glaring hole in it.
Yeah.
The name that by all accounts should be at the very top is just, it's gone.
It's a ghost list today. You've got arguably the best slider in the world right now sitting somewhere else instead of in that starting block.
We're talking about Vladyslav Heraskevych, 25 years old, Ukrainian, and as of this morning, he has been completely disqualified from the games. And I want to be super clear right off the bat because people were probably assuming the usual stuff. This is not a doping scandal.
No, absolutely not. Nothing like that.
And it's not an equipment tampering thing, is it? Like he didn't heat his runners or something.
No, it's entirely different. And frankly, it's so much more complicated. This is really a collision between a piece of safety gear and the fundamental philosophy of the IOC.
So what we're diving into today is a situation where remembrance got categorized as protest.
And the fallout is just massive.
We have a huge stack of material to get through. We've got official statements, training data from Cortina, which is just, well, we'll get to that, and some very, very heated diplomatic messages. Our mission is to unpack how a helmet, just a helmet design, turned into an international incident, basically overnight.
It really is the biggest controversy of these games because it tests the limits of what the Olympics are actually for. Are they this, vacuum sealed off from the world?
A fantasy land.
Exactly. Or does the real world get to come inside?
Okay, so let's start with the athlete himself. Because to really feel the weight of this, you have to understand this wasn't some guy who was just happy to be there.
Oh, not at all. He wasn't back of the pack material trying to get some TV time.
You've been looking at the training runs. How good was he looking?
Dominant. That's really the only word for it. In skeleton, consistency is everything. You're throwing yourself headfirst down an ice chute at 80 miles an hour.
It's terrifying.
It is. It's terrifying and precise. And Heraskevych, he wasn't just surviving the trek. He was thriving on it.
So what do the numbers say?
Well, after the 5th training session, which was the last one he actually fully did, he was topping the standings. He was the fastest man on the ice.
So this is a legitimate medal threat we're talking about.
He was the favorite for gold. I mean, he was in his prime. He had the line dialed in. Removing him doesn't just change the story. It changes the entire competition.
The gold is up for grabs now.
In a way, it just wasn't 24 hours ago.
Okay, so he's the man to beat. He shows up ready to go. But officials stop him. Let's walk through the object at the center of all this. It's his helmet.
Correct. And for context, the helmet and skeleton is really the only canvas an athlete has. The suit is standard, the sled's technical.
Right. The helmet where you see the personalities, skulls, flags, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Angry birds, flames, usually very aggressive styling. But Heraskevych showed up with something much more somber and honestly, much more confronting.
It wasn't text, was it? I think people assume it was a slogan like "Stop the War" or something.
No text at all. It was a mural. Specifically, it was portraits. He had painted the faces of Ukrainian athletes who have been killed during the war.
That's a very specific choice. Not soldiers, not politicians.
Yeah.
But fellow athletes.
Exactly. A tribute to his peers. And the list of names he included, it's devastating. And I think it's important we actually say who was on that helmet.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because the range of sports just shows you how much the war touched every single corner of their community.
Who was on there?
You had Alina Perehudova, a weightlifter. You had Pavel Vichenko, a boxer. Alexei Loganov, an ice hockey player.
So winter and summer sports, team and individual.
All of it. It also had Ivan Kononenko, who was an actor and an athlete. Mikita Kozubenko, a diver and a coach, Alexei Khabarov, who was a shooter, and Daria Pradel, a dancer.
Wow. Hearing those roles,
Yeah.
dancer, coach, it's haunting. And
Yeah.
you're in the starting gate, the TV camera zooms right in on that helmet.
It's a tight shot.
He was basically forcing the world to look at the people who couldn't be there.
That was his intent. He was very clear about his motivation. He said, and I'm quoting him here, "These people sacrificed their lives. Because of that, I am able to be here today. I will not betray them."
I will not betray them.
Yeah.
That gives me chills. It frames it completely differently. It's not, I want to make a political statement.
Yeah.
It's, I have a moral obligation, a debt he owes.
Precisely. To him, the helmet wasn't a protest tool. It was a memorial. But this is where the irresistible force meets the immovable object. Because the IOC, they have very, very specific rules about what they call the field of play.
Okay, let's unpack this. We hear that term a lot. What does field of play actually mean in the rule book? Why is it so sacred to them?
So the field of play is the track, the pool, the court, the actual competition area. And the IOC enforces strict neutrality there.
No messaging.
Right. They prohibit political, religious, or racial propaganda. Now, to be fair, they've relaxed the rules a bit for, press conferences or social media. You can say what you want on Twitter.
But on the track.
Zero tolerance.
But here's the friction point, right?
Mm.
How does the IOC define political? Because Heraskevych would argue, and I think most people would, that mourning your dead friends isn't politics. It's just grief.
That is the million-dollar question. That's the core of the whole debate. The IOC flagged the helmet because they viewed it as a statement on the conflict. Their argument is about maintaining a, quote, safe environment for everyone.
Safe meaning free from reminders of the real world.
Free from divisiveness. The logic is the slippery slope. If you allow a Ukrainian athlete to do this, do you then have to allow a different political slogan on another helmet?
Or religious imagery or something controversial.
Exactly. So to avoid having to decide what's good grief versus bad politics, they just issue a blanket ban.
So they just say nothing. Silence over nuance.
Essentially, yes. They want the Olympics to be a blank slate where only athletic performance matters.
But this went right to the top, didn't it?
Yeah.
I was reading about the meeting between Heraskevych and Kirsty Coventry, the IOC president.
It did. And surprisingly, reports say it was very emotional, not hostile. You have to remember, Kirsty Coventry is a former Olympian herself, a swimmer. She gets the athlete's mindset.
So she understood.
She seemed to. She was quoted saying, "No one is disagreeing with the messaging. It's a powerful message of remembrance."
Okay, that's a crucial distinction. She's validating the sentiment.
She is. She said, "It's not about the message, it's about the place." But then came the verdict. And this is the part that, just hurts. She told him, "Sadly, that just means no messaging is allowed."
It feels like a tragedy of bureaucracy. You have the president of the IOC agreeing with the moral weight of it, but then pointing to a rule book and saying, my hands are tied.
And that led to the ultimatum. The IBSF, that's the Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, gave him a binary choice, a final warning.
What was it?
They said, change the helmet, put on a plain one, and you can go race for the gold medal you are probably going to win. Or
keep the helmet and you're out.
And you're out.
And he didn't blink.
He refused. He'd already said publicly he wouldn't betray them. He stuck to it.
That is a staggering amount of conviction. You train your whole life for this 1 60-second run. You're the favorite, and you throw it all away for those images.
He traded a probable Olympic gold medal for a principle. So because he refused, the IBSF jury formally barred him, withdrew his accreditation.
So he's not just out of the race, he's kicked out of the games.
Evicted.
And as you can imagine, this did not go over well in Kiev.
Furious is an understatement. It started right at the top. President Zelensky took to X immediately. He wrote, "Having courage is worth more than any medal."
He also used a phrase that stuck with me. He said, sport shouldn't mean amnesia.
That struck me too. It directly challenges the IOC's whole philosophy. The IOC wants sport to be a timeout from the world. Zelensky is arguing you can't separate the athlete from their reality.
You're asking them to induce amnesia just to compete.
Exactly. And he backed it up. He awarded Heraskevych the Order of Freedom.
Which is a high state honor.
It is. So think about that. He lost the chance at Olympic gold, but went home a national hero.
The foreign minister, Andrei Sybiha, also called the ruling a moment of shame. That's strong diplomatic language to use against a sporting body.
It frames the IOC as a moral failure, not a neutral arbiter. But here's where it gets really interesting. Heraskevych wasn't isolated internationally. Look at what happened with Latvia.
Right, this is the part that got me. Latvia is a direct competitor in skeleton. They're a powerhouse.
Exactly. If Heraskevych is out, Latvia's chances of medaling will go way up. But Ivo Steinbergs, the Latvian coach, confirmed their federation submitted a formal protest to the IBSF.
To get him reinstated.
Requesting he be reinstated, yes.
It's rare.
Incredibly rare. You almost never see that. It shows a solidarity among the athletes that transcends the flags.
Yeah.
The skeleton community, it's a tight-knit world.
So a rival nation stands up and says, we wanted to beat him on the track, not because of a rule book.
Which is a massive statement, and it really undermines the IOC's argument that the helmet creates a divisive environment, doesn't it?
Yeah, if his competitors are saying, let him race, then who is the IOC actually protecting?
That's the paradox. They claim they're protecting the athletes, but the athletes seem to be saying they don't want or need that protection.
And what about the fans who were there?
Oh, just confusion and disappointment. People paid a lot of money to see the best in the world. There's a quote from a fan, Natalia Kajcik, who said something that I think sums it all up.
What'd she say?
She said, "He's won the medal of our heart."
It sounds a little cliche, maybe, but in this context, it implies he won the narrative war.
He absolutely controlled the narrative, but we have to be realistic about the sporting cost. The event is happening as we speak. Medals will be awarded tonight.
And there's going to be a massive asterisk next to this event forever.
The big what if? We'll never know for sure, but the data suggests a tragedy for the sport itself. We watch to see the best against the best.
And the winner today is going to be the winner because Heraskevych wasn't there.
Which diminishes the victory.
So where does this go from here? The race is run? Is it over?
Legally, no. Heraskevych has announced he plans to appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
The Supreme Court of Sports.
Right. Now, practically speaking, the games will be over before reeling comes down. The ice will be melted. But he's pushing for a legal precedent.
To define that line between propaganda and mourning.
He wants a ruling that could change the rules for 2030 and beyond. It forces a legal look at whether the IOC's strict neutrality violates an athlete's basic human rights.
This brings us right to that core debate. We have two very entrenched viewpoints. On one side, you have the institution.
Viewpoint A, the IOC. Their argument is, if you open the door an inch, the wind blows it wide open. If the Olympics becomes a billboard for every global conflict, it ceases to be the Olympics.
It's the sanctuary argument. Leave your troubles at the door.
Exactly. And on the other side,
Viewpoint B.
the humanist argument. They argue that sport happens in the real world. Athletes are humans first, competitors second. To say acknowledging the death of your friends is political is an act of dehumanization.
It's the difference between keeping the peace and doing what's right.
And bureaucracies are designed to keep the peace, not make moral judgments. The rule book is binary. Is there imagery? Yes. Is it approved? No. Then it's out.
It's efficient, but it's cold.
Extremely cold. And in this case, it created the Streisand effect. By trying to silence the message, they made sure his helmet is the only thing anyone is talking about today.
Right. If he just raced, it would have been a human interest story. By banning him.
It became a global incident, so no doubt whoever wins gold today knows deep down they didn't beat the best slider in the world.
It's just a messy situation. A stark reminder that the Olympics, for all their branding, aren't immune to the world outside the stadium.
It's a mirror. It reflects whatever's happening, whether the organizers like it or not.
So before we wrap this up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought. We talk about the Olympic spirit, celebrating humanity. We love those montage videos.
But we also want sanitized entertainment.
Exactly. So ask yourself, if the Olympics are about celebrating the human spirit, where do we actually draw the line when human loss enters the arena? Is there a real difference between politics and history when it comes to what an athlete wears on their head?
It's a question without an easy answer. If you say yes to grief, do you have to say yes to anger?
That's the challenge. Think about how you would define neutrality if you were sitting in Kirsty Coventry's chair or standing in Heraskevych's shoes. Thanks for listening. We will be watching that CAS appeal very closely. Stay curious.
Okay, one question for you. Should sports remain separate from political conflict? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.